Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out today. I'm Vic Kelson, Executive Director of Evansville Water and Sewer Utility. This is our second community conversation gathering regarding the lead and copper rule and our compliance with it. A few months ago, we had a meeting where we talked about our investigations to find lead service lines that are out in our distribution system and eliminate them in over a 10-year period. The rule also includes requirements related to lead testing for water quality in schools and daycare facilities. And this is especially important for young children in elementary schools because lead can have a lifetime of negative impacts on the lives of young children. So we have with us Ethan Elliser, who is our water quality manager. Ethan will do all the rest of the talking today, but we're happy to have you here. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. For people who are live streaming, I don't know, do we have the ability to take questions by email? But if we're not doing it live during the meeting, please send your email messages in and we will answer them as promptly as we can. So with no further ado, I'll let Ethan take over. Take it.
Thanks for the introduction, Vic. Good morning. We'd like to thank everyone here for participating in this program that is vital to protecting our children from the potential harmful health effects and risks from exposure to lead in drinking water. Over the course of this meeting, we will discuss the background and recent developments with the lead and copper rule administered by the EPA. We will review the timing and expectations for us to schedule sampling of your water. We will break down the details for identifying the required sample outlets at your facilities. We'll tell you what to expect on sample day, when and how you will receive results, and what to expect for ongoing communications with EWSU. We will provide helpful information, including contacts, resources, and forms to fill out to make sure your facility is included in our program. Lastly, we will answer any remaining questions you may have. You may be wondering why we're conducting this program. EWSU is subject to the National Primary Drinking Water Regulations by the EPA, including the Lead and Copper Rule. The Lead and Copper Rule was initially published in 1991, and it required regular monitoring of residential sites. Complying with the rule meant that the test results from these sites needed to be below the action level. EWSU sample sites have never exceeded this action level. The most recent improvements became effective December 31st of 2024. They require monitoring of all daycares and elementary schools that we serve from 2025 until 2032. Our good faith effort to identify and sample all daycares and elementary schools starts here. We are looking to establish partnerships with school representatives from all the daycares and schools that want to participate. This will help facilitate prompt and accurate sampling, testing, and communication of results to your facility. So you and your children can rest assured that lead in drinking water is not a problem in your facility. Now let's talk about timing. The rule sampling directions require the taps not to be used for at least 8, but not more than 18 hours before we show up to sample. We want to be as least intrusive to your operations as possible. So we suggest sampling daycares in the spring and fall while school is in session, in elementary schools in the summer and winter during school breaks. Of course, daycares and schools would be exceptions to that rule. Preliminary estimates indicate we have about 40 schools and 120 daycares. If you are an exception to the seasonal schedule, please communicate your facility's needs to us. When we are ready to sample your facility in the next 30 days, you will receive the following 3 pieces of information: a proposed sampling schedule, sample outlet instructions, and the EPA's 3 T's toolkit. Please make sure that your primary contact knows that they have to respond to the proposed sampling schedule. If we make 2 attempts to reach out to your primary contact with these materials and do not hear back, your facility will be counted as a non-response, and you will have to request sampling for us to make another attempt. For childcare facilities such as daycares, there are 2 samples that we have to collect, if they are available. The first is from a drinking water fountain. We understand that many home childcare facilities will not have these. If this is the case, please identify an alternative tap that water is normally drank from. Taps with filters, such as a faucet filter or a fridge filter, are only sampled if all of the taps have them. If you lack a drinking water fountain with no alternative, we will only sample the kitchen or vice versa. The chain of custody that the lab tech will bring on sample day will have spaces to explain the rationale for selection of substitute samples if you are unable to provide the ones that we normally collect. For schools, we require 5 sample taps. These include 2 drinking water fountains, 1 kitchen faucet, 1 classroom faucet, and 1 nurse's office faucet. If there is an issue with any category, please substitute with another tap used for drinking. For example, if there is no classroom faucet but 3 drinking water fountains, we would sample the 3rd fountain. Alternatively, if there is only 1 drinking water fountain but 2 kitchen faucets, we would sample the 2nd kitchen faucet as a substitute. And there will be many variations of these kinds of exceptions. The chain of custody that the lab tech will bring on sample day, again, will have spaces to explain your rationale for selecting alternative samples. If there are less than 5 faucets, we have to sample every faucet. On sample day, we will arrive at the time scheduled by your primary contact. Prior to us arriving, no taps, not just the ones we will sample from, can be used for at least 8, but not more than 18 hours. Your primary or secondary contact has to be available to escort the lab tech to the sample taps you identified using our instructions. Your primary or secondary contact will also be responsible for completing the chain of custody for your samples with the lab tech's assistance. After your facility has been sampled, you can expect to receive results within 30 days. The rule requires us to send the results to the state and county health departments as well. If lead is detected at all, we will notify you as soon as possible. We will let you know which tap the result came from so you have an idea where the source could be. We will resample for your taps within 30 days and perform a distribution system and site assessment. This is a fancy term for taking samples at nearby locations so that we can measure things like pH and water hardness to determine if there is a water quality component to the issue. We urge you to use the information in the 3Ts toolkit to develop a plan, identify the source, remediate the issue, and reduce the risk of exposure. EWSU has made an investment into an instrument capable of measuring lead and copper in our own facility. This is going to reduce the turnaround time on sample results and hopefully make it so that we can get information to you faster to hopefully remediate situations quicker. After you've been sampled, you can still expect to hear from us. You will receive the annual health risks notification in the mail every year, even if you've been sampled and passed. This notification will include the 3Ts toolkit, the EPA's health risk statement, tips to reduce the risk of lead exposure, and information on how to request sampling from us. It is important that you all understand that our annual consumer confidence report is now required to have a statement to the public about this sampling program, and to encourage the public to contact their school or daycare for more information. It would be a good idea to develop some information about your facility, such as the year it was built, any recent plumbing renovations, the recent test results, and your participation status in this program, should any concerned parents or guardians inquire. If you follow this QR code, you will be able to download the 3Ts toolkit as a PDF. I mentioned the health departments that we were sending test results to. These are the contacts who will receive them. They are great resources for information on lead exposure control. They offer blood lead tests free of charge for children under the age of 7 and pregnant and/or breastfeeding mothers. Please contact them for questions about their role in this program. Now I'd like to take the time to ask you to pull out your phones and scan this QR code. This is probably the most important part of this presentation. If you complete this survey, we will have all of your facilities information that we require to reach out and schedule sampling. You will ensure your participation in the program if you complete this form. We also have it on handouts if you don't get it now. This QR code will take you to our lead safety page. Our website is going to stay up to date with new information about the sampling program. It will provide updates to our lead service line inventory, give you information on ways to reduce exposure to lead, and inform you of methods to request sampling from us. One-stop shop. This QR code leads you to a web page that gives you basic information about lead in drinking water from the EPA. Lastly, this QR code will take you to a web page that gives you instructions on how to reduce your potential exposure to lead. All right, this concludes the presentation, and now we would be happy to answer any questions you may still have. So we've been asked how often we send out proposals to sample. The answer to that is when we know how many we have, we will begin using the seasonal timelines that we discussed in the presentation. So this spring, we will start sending it out to the first daycares that we have in our system. And it depends on how many we get and how quickly we can get through the requests that we start to process. It'll happen until we get them all done. For example, we won't be testing more than once at the same facility unless you request it from us again. You can request, yes. Any more questions? Yes, if you go back to our survey and resubmit your information with a new contact, we'll be able to rewrite the information that you had submitted prior. Things do change. And I think an important part to mention, this is going to keep going until 2032 because it's entirely possible that a daycare moves into an older facility or a new daycare comes on our radar that we didn't have in 2025. So it's not going anywhere. And if you want testing down the line, you can always request it from us. It's just getting started. Yes. That entire time. So we will continue to review our inventory of daycares and schools, and until they're all sampled and we know that there's no outstanding requests, we will continue to send out the notification to schedule sampling with us. Residentials can also request sampling from us, and they have been using the contact information, the contact us form. And there's a link to it and a QR code on some handouts that we have over at the podium. His question was about increasing cost and how that relates to the replacement of lead service lines. I'll let Vic Kelson answer this.
None of these programs are funded from any state or federal dollars. This is all funded by ratepayer dollars. So it has no impact at all on us at this point. We can take any general questions or we can just wrap up. Oh, yes, of course. We have materials, printed materials. All the QR codes are on paper over there. Any other materials? Oh, I'm sorry.
So we don't retain the data for lead test results. That's actually retained in the health department. And we have some representatives here that maybe will answer your question better after the program. Okay, lastly, I just want to remind everyone that this is a no charge program. We aren't going to charge anybody to do this. It'll all be done at our own pace. We'll be scheduling it and working as quickly as we can. That's why we encourage you to reach out and give us your information to make this as seamless as possible, because we're gonna be doing it for a while and we'll get the kinks figured out, and there'll be an ongoing service that we provide the community. Okay. There are no further questions. We will conclude the live stream, and be happy to talk to anybody in the audience. Again, thank you very much for coming out, and we appreciate your participation.